Yo guys, welcome to ShayanGaming. Today we're going to be talking about the amazingly fun new champion, Neeko. So starting with her passive, Inherent Glamour. You can camouflage as any of the champions, and there's a 2.5 second delay before we can pick someone else. So obviously you want to pick them when someone's like gone off in the jungle and the enemy doesn't have vision, so they don't know if it's you or them. Another thing to note is your attack damage isn't like your allies' attack damage, because that would be a bit crazy. So you're obviously doing your damage. So if you take if you take your own ADC, and they can see that you're barely doing any attack damage because you're an AP person, then they'll know it's you. So you kind of got to be careful with who you select and how you show it. So as an example, I can auto attack with them and I won't break camouflage, but once you do break camouflage, there's a 25-second cooldown before you can switch to someone again. And the cooldown for when you break camouflage is 25 seconds, but eventually it goes down to 16 seconds once you're level 18. I like to pick like our ally that's the most fed to try and scare them. So from what I understand, Neeko's passive is kind of permanent. I mean, you can be camouflaged for as long as you want, but obviously you can't use abilities, so eventually you're gonna want to have to get out of it. And some things that break your camouflage is any sort of combat with an enemy champion, or if you use any of your damaging abilities except for your ultimate, because if you're camouflaged, you're obviously camouflaging the initial charge up of the ultimate, but then obviously you take your original form when you leap up into the air. So your Q and E, for example, would break your camouflage. So a Q is called Blooming Burst, and it deals magic damage once it hits any enemy. So if we hit over there, it does damage. Now it can be triggered 2 more times to essentially do 3 bursts of damage, and each of the new bursts actually deal less damage, about kind of a bit less than half. And the way they're triggered is if the Q hits an enemy champion, then it will burst again. So if it hits, then it will burst again. And obviously if the second burst hits the enemy champion as well, it will burst 1 more time, and that's it. So this actually works really well with the E, which we'll get to in a bit. But you can also trigger it with killing an enemy minion. So if you look at this minion over here, if we kill this minion, then it will burst again. Now you can also obviously stack it with another minion. So the Q hits, it kills that one, the second one hits that one, and then there's a third one. And that's the most you can cap it at. So just an example of using it with your E. If we do this, trap him up, then that hits once, it's an enemy champion, hits again, it's an enemy champion, hits again, and then that's it, you're free mac. And you can obviously use this against large monsters as well, so you can just Q, it does it again, and it does it for a third time. The Q has quite a low cooldown of 7 seconds, and it's like this for all levels, but obviously you can buy CDR to bring it down. And in case you're wondering, Qing a bush does not give you vision of it, but obviously if you hit an enemy champion, you'll hear the thing go off again. And in case you're also curious, leveling up Q will increase the initial damage, increase the secondary damage, and increase the mana cost. So your E, that's Tangle Barbs, roots everyone for 0.5 seconds. So you can shoot it in a line and all of them are rooted for 0.5 seconds. And obviously your E's range is quite long, so you can do it for quite a large distance. And the last champion hit, and this is assuming that you only hit 2 or less things. So if I just hit a minion and an enemy champion, or if I just hit an enemy champion straight, hey Galio, come chase me, chase me. Yeah, so if I just do that, then that route will actually be 0.7 seconds. So it's slightly longer than the normal route of 0.5. And it can go up to a maximum of 1.5 seconds, which is when you've leveled it up. But if you hit 2 enemies first, so if you kind of like bam, bam, then the route actually turns purple. So like that, it turns purple if you saw over there. Then that means that the E actually grows in speed and size. So as you can see, the purple one's the fast one because you've hit 2 of them. If we watch that again, it goes a lot faster and it grows in size. And you may be wondering, if it grows in size, does that mean it doesn't necessarily have to hit things in a straight line? And that is correct. So as you can see, these 2 are in a straight line and these 2 are kind of a bit off. And if we still E, we can hit both of them because obviously it's grown in size. And as you can probably guess, your E also does not give vision, but obviously if you hit someone, then you'll know someone's there. And as you level up your E, the damage increases, the damage that it does to everything on the way. And afterwards, the last champion root duration also increases, the empowered root duration increases, the cooldown decreases, and the mana cost increases. And I forgot to mention, the longer root duration starts at 1.8 seconds, and when you've maximized your level E, it goes to 3 seconds. So you can eventually root those people for 3 seconds when you're maxed out on your E. Your W, Shapesplitter, has a passive and an active. So first talking about the passive, every 3 auto attacks, and it doesn't have to be on the same thing. So you can see there's 1 stack there. Oh, I guess that was the 3rd stack. But the 3rd one will deal bonus magic damage. So we just use the bonus magic damage now, and I'll show you again. That's 1. We got it there, and then we hit like this minion, 2. Then the 3rd one, oh, it was right before. I don't know why I got so confused. And then the 3rd one will deal bonus magic damage. So you can kind of just store this in for right before you're about to go into a fight. And if you look at my movement speed, it's at 340 right now. If I hit that, you get 408. You get a slight 20% bonus movement speed for 1 second. Now when you use the active part of your W, you become invisible, and so does your clone, so you're actually both invisible. I think there was some confusion about do you pop up and that one's just constantly running, because if that was the case, then obviously everyone would know you're the real one because you were invisible first, but you're actually both invisible. And I kind of figured this out by looking at the shadows. So if you look, there's no shadow, and then there's a shadow, and then that's for the clone. And then if you look at us, there's no shadow, then there's a shadow. So you both actually start off invisible for 0.5 seconds, which is good. Obviously, that otherwise it wouldn't really make sense, the ability, if it wasn't like that. And you both gain the same movement speed as the passive, which is 20%, and obviously this goes up with your level, and you have that for 2 seconds. So obviously you can use it as an escape to run a bit faster, and running to lane a bit faster, 408. And it's a fixed movement speed, in case you're wondering. It's not a decaying one. You can use your W to show vision, so just like that. And obviously W does not go through walls, that wouldn't make any sense. But there are some weird interactions with the W, like I'm trying to get the W to go in there, and it kind of just goes off that way. I'm not really sure why. It can curve, because if I do this, you can see it curves. So I'm not sure why it struggles so much to go that way. I mean, yeah, maybe it's just bouncing off that. It can't deal. No, it's going through it now. I don't know. It's really weird. Yeah, you're probably safe. Your safest bet is just either using this confusion or pointing it in somewhere straight. But the thing is, when you use your W, no one will ever think it's you just walking casually. They'll always know that you've W'd, because when we're walking normally, we're just walking normally, right? But if we walk with W, we look completely different. So people will kind of always know that it's you, unless I guess you're using home guard. You might have the same animation. That only really works if you're in base. And as you level up your W, the passive damage of the every third attack increases, the movement speed increases, and the cooldown decreases. Now for your ultimate Pop Blossom, there is a charge time of 1.25 seconds. So what you saw before we leapt up into the air, that was 1.25 seconds long, and you can walk during this time period, but then you're fixed in place, you can't move. Once you go up into the air, that's when you get a shield, and that shield lasts slightly longer till when the ult's finished. So let me just show this without any of the CDR stuff. So actually, let's just wait for him to go away. Okay, let's do it here. So as you can see, shield. We've ulted, our shield's still there for a tiny bit after it's finished. And the shield increases for each enemy champion that's there. So, oops, I forgot we turned that off. So if we ult now, our shield will be slightly bigger, and obviously if there's more enemy champs, then it will be even larger. And another thing that happens when you're actually in the air is enemies in the area are slowed. And this slow is for the 0.75 seconds that you are in the air. And then obviously when you land, they are stunned, not rooted, but stunned. The stun lasts for 1.25 seconds when you land, and you obviously deal loads of magic damage. And as you level up your ultimate, the damage increases, the shield amount increases, and the shield per enemy champion also increases. So if you're transformed into an ally, when you're doing the charge up time, the enemies don't actually see the charge up time, so they won't see this part, but they'll see you suddenly kind of slamming into them. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and stay subscribed to stay up to date with future videos. Adios.